If I should ask you, as we look throughout history, who would you say is the most wanted criminal of all time? Interesting question. Well, some would say Adolf Hitler. He's responsible for the deaths of more than 70 million people through his policies and through his action. Another person may say Joseph Stalin. He's responsible for the death of 30 million people, and that as a result of his policies and actions as well. And there are some who would say the persons who are responsible for the transatlantic slave trade, they are the most wanted because they are responsible for the deaths of 4 to 6 million people. And so the question is, of all those, who is the most wanted? Together combined, they are responsible for the deaths of over 100 million people. But I want to submit to you that there is one who is most notorious, who has exceeded the deaths of more than 100 million people. Probably the number cannot be counted based on the numerous persons that notorious criminal is responsible for. And guess who is that person? May I submit to you, that person is poverty of the mind. Yes, you heard me right. Poverty of the mind. And chances are you were a victim or you are a victim. And the deception of poverty of the mind is that you can be a victim and you don't even know that you are a victim. Let us discuss. I am Stephen Richards, your host and development practitioner. Welcome to the Reality Focus Development Podcast. Our mission is simple: end rural poverty, create prosperity. I invite you to like, to share, to leave a comment, and also to subscribe. Now, let us get back to the topic at hand: poverty of the mind. Now, poverty of the mind is the most notorious criminal of all time. I would say poverty of the mind is responsible for the most heinous crimes against humanity. Poverty of the mind is no respecter of person. And poverty of the mind operates at 3 levels. Now, it is said that the richest place on earth is the graveyard. Why? Because so many potentials have died, so many abilities, so many talents for a lack of confidence because of limited and dilapidated mindset. And as a result, so many persons have gone to the grave with songs that should have been written, with ideas that should have been birthed, with inventions that should have made it to reality, but it did not make it to reality. All because these persons suffered from poverty of the mind. Are you a victim? I can say I was a victim. And it is so subtle because it operates under a very deceptive tactics, and we're going to explore. Now, for you to understand poverty of the mind, it operates at 3 different levels. And in my previous video, I shared that if you're going to make advancement with your life, if you're going to experience growth and development, then the changes that you seek must take place at 3 different levels: the individual, the community, and the national levels. And can I say to you that poverty of the mind targets primarily these 3 different levels: the individual, the community, as well as the national level. Now, you have to understand that poverty of the mind is a master deceiver. It is said that a battle is best won through deception than with any other tactics there ever is. Because when somebody is deceived, he or she believes strongly that what they're pursuing is truth, or what they hold on to is truth, not knowing that they are holding on to a lie. And it's very hard to convince someone that who is believing a lie to say to them that, guess what? That is not truth. You believe the lie as truth, but that is not truth. And that's the problem with poverty of the mind. It affects your belief system. We're going to look at some of the deceptive tactics of poverty of the mind. So there is this general view that money will solve your problems. It's a Jamaican thing. Boy, you stop on the roadside and you ask a man, boy, if me have more money, trust me, my life would have been better. And if you meet a working class, them say, boy, right now, if me have more money, my life would have been better. In fact, that's the reason why we work. We work for money. And so the general belief system is that, guess what? If I have more money, then my problems would be solved. But can I say to you that that is a lie? Yes, you heard me right. That is a lie. Because chances are more money will multiply your problems. And I know that that sounds very weird. And I know that that sounds very strange. And somebody would say, give me more money. I can deal with that problem. But let us discuss even more. Now, in the last video, I made a statement that poverty is 90% mindset and 10% wealth set. Yep. So we're going to unpack that a little bit more to examine what I really mean. Now, understand that your mindset is linked to your belief systems. Your actions, your behavior, your decisions that you make is linked to your belief system. And your belief system is influenced by your socialization. And in Jamaica, we say brought-upsy, which is really socialization. It is really influenced through the various systems through which you interact with, such as the school system, which we call the education system. And we're going to talk about that, the church system, and just about your own environment, your family. It influences your mindset. And so the decisions that you make are often linked to the socialization that influence your belief system. And so the question is out there. Now, you could be operating under a false delusion. It may very well be that some of the things that you hold on to as truth, because you grew up knowing that to be true, and you've been socialized to know that it is true, those perceived truth, may be very well that thing which is holding you back from becoming a person of wealth. Now, who is a person of wealth, one may ask? A person of wealth is one who creates value for other person. And for you to create value for other person, it means that as an individual, you must experience growth and development psychologically, which relates to your mind, socially, which means how you interact with people, economical as well as spiritual. Those, you have to experience growth and development in those areas of your life if you are going to produce value. And so let me just bring it home to you. So I often use this example. The only reason why we go to the mango tree is because it produces mangoes, right? So the mango tree is valuable to the extent that it produces mangoes. Now, if the mango tree is not producing, every day you and I will walk past that mango tree as if it doesn't exist. It's mango time, and especially if it's an East Indian or one of those high caliber or high quality mango according to Jamaicans, then you begin to count the amount of mango on the tree. Why? Because it becomes more valuable to you. But before that mango tree could produce mangoes, that mango tree had to go through a series of process until its maturity, which reaches the stage for it to produce. And similarly for you and I, we will have to go through a process, and there's so many things that you have to unlearn. I can tell you about this because I grew up in the rural space, and when my teacher often said, Stephen, Frankfield is not the world. Frankfield is not the world. I didn't even understand what she was saying. But you see, when I dive into the world of things and I move from the rural space to the urban space, and then I get exposure to go overseas, boy, I really understood. I understand even now what she really meant when she said Frankfield is not the world. At one point in time, there was so much things that I have to unlearn in order to have a correct perspective on life. And so I want to say to you that guess what? There are times you think that you have a money problem. But what I can say to you is that the problem that you have is that you need more wisdom. Yes, you have a wisdom problem, not a money problem. What do I mean? If your money is 90% and your wisdom is 10%, it is only a matter of time until your money ends up in a fatal accident, never to recover. So the problem is that today most persons tend to be running their lives on 10% wisdom in pursuit of 100% money. And guess what? You're going to fall short miserably. Here's what the wisest man on earth has to say about that. Solomon in Proverbs chapter 24 and verse 3. It says, by wisdom a house is built. Through understanding it is established. Through knowledge its rooms are filled with rare and beautiful treasures. So guess what? If you're going to make the best of your life, if you're going to live out your purpose and your destiny, then it behoves you to pursue knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Because how are you going to build your life without wisdom? How are you going to build your life without understanding? How are you going to build your life without knowledge? And I submit to you, that could be one of the main challenges you face in life. So it's not money, but it is the wisdom. Because if you have wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, then wealth, then money will not be a problem. But if you have money and you don't have wisdom, you can see what is happening with the scammers today. They get a large portion of money, but they don't have the wisdom in how to effectively use that money. And them turn on themselves, kill each other. You can see persons who win the lotteries, they get a lot of money one time, but they don't have the capacity to contain, to invest, to multiply, to sustain the sudden wealth that they receive. And as a result, their lives end up in a fatal accident. And so you are going to need wisdom. Now, I want to say, how do you know if you're a victim of poverty of the mind? Because this little man is very subtle, very, very subtle. And you can be deceived and you don't know that you are deceived. And as I said, I am guilty of that at some point in my life. There's some things that I really had to unlearn. Now, we're going to go through some things and then you are going to use that as a measuring stick to see if you're a victim of this notorious criminal, poverty of the mind. Now, one who experiences poverty of the mind, there is a general feeling of, low self-esteem, a lack of self-worth, a lack of self-confidence. Because guess what? When you grow up in an environment of lack, it does something to your personhood. Another indicator that tells that you're suffering from poverty of the mind is that your thinking, your self-worth, and your value is determined by material possession. So what this does is that you don't think that you are valuable, you don't think that you have significance, and you're always seeking the validation of others for you to feel comfortable within your own skin. And so what happens is that you will continue to make decisions in your life and with your life in the favor of other persons that are not in your best interest. For example, a young man grew up in poverty or in the rural space and wants to get his big break, and then he starts to work. Tertiary school complete and now starts to work. And he's going to pay $70,000 monthly for car or loan payment. Does that make sense to you? But yet still often this is a situation that is on the recurring. Because what? Their self-worth and value is determined by the things they possess. And if they don't possess anything, they don't feel as though they are anybody. And what happens when your self-worth and your sense of identity is tied to your material possession is that your goals and your aspirations are set from a place of insecurity. It's as though you have to prove to the world that I am a person of value. And this is somewhat connected to the whole school system that promotes a meritocratic system. Because guess what? At school, you have grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, and those determine which level of capability or capacity you have. So those who are in stream 1, stream 2, they are considered to be the brightest, but you have up to stream 10. So what are you saying to the other person? That guess what? They are not valuable. And so these type of hidden messages are what we call the hidden curriculum. It goes into your psyche and automatically you start to think that, guess what? For me to prove that I am somebody of worth, I have to have something to show. And to make matters worse, on prize giving day, the only person who gets prizes are those who would have been probably in the top 5. And what you're communicating to the vast majority, that you are of no value, that you are of no worth, because you have nothing to show, you have nothing to prove. What are you going to celebrate? And so you grow up with this mindset that, guess what? In order for me to show that I am a person of value, then I must be able to have material possessions. And so you say something like that, I'm going to prove to you that, guess what? Even though you never believe in me, then this is the proof. And I'm saying to you, you're operating from the wrong premise. You are valuable for just being a human being. Nothing less, nothing more. The fact that you are made in the image of God speaks to the fact that you are God material. You are God material. You have nothing to prove to somebody that, guess what? I'm going to show you that I'm a value. Because you are made in the image of God, that's the highest value that you can ever have. And you have to embrace it. Because that is how you're going to cure poverty of the mind at the individual level. Because if you don't have an identity that is firm, if you don't have an identity that is not changing with the times, then you're going to be left up to the decision of the crowd. So when the crowd is with you today, then you feel good. And then the crowd is against you tomorrow, then you feel bad. And can I tell you, the crowd constantly change like the weather. They said to Jesus, at one point in time, "Hail, Hosanna, you are the King of the Jews," and they pay homage to him. And a couple days after, guess what? Those same people said, "Crucify him." Can you imagine what hit or what damage this could have done to Jesus' identity if his identity was dependent on the crowd? But his identity was not dependent on the crowd. And I'm saying to you, don't allow your identity to be dependent on the crowd. Place your identity in the fact that you were made in the image of God. And I know social media promote all sorts of things, and you can leave social media feeling as, boy, nothing is going on with your life. I have not accomplished this. I have not accomplished that. Guess what? Everybody has their own timing when they mature, when they achieve certain things. Be patient. Trust the process. Trust the process. Base your identity and self-worth on the fact that you are made in the image of God, not in material possession. And then, and only then, you will have the right foundation to make progress with your life. Because your life progress will not be dependent on pleasing the crowd, but it will be in your best interest. Peace out. God bless.